Hi developers, I'm Hussam Dillai, Microsoft MVP. In this video, I'll share with you some of the tools that we use when developing mobile applications. Those tools are useful to do the design of your application, development, testing, and analytics for your app. Let's start by design tools, and here Sketch is useful for designing your iOS screens. It works only for Mac, so it doesn't work on Windows, and it's specific for iOS. With Sketch you can create multiple screens and apply the specific iOS design guidelines to your application. Another design tool is Zeplin, which enable you to create screens for your Android and iOS application, and you can export those screens on a web page so that developers could see those screens and apply them in their application's code. This helps developers to get, for example, the font size of their labels, the exact colors of their labels, and so on. Reveal is a design tool that is useful to get the composition of your views, so you can see all the layers for your application. We see in this demo that we can see all the different layers and we can see all the different elements, so that I can get an idea about the complexity of my views. And they also, using Reveal, I can change some properties. Here changing the color from blue to red, for example. So this gives me a real-time overview of my UI for my application. Reveal app is a paid application and works only for iOS, but Xamarin has released a design tool called Xamarin Inspector, which do almost the same and works for Android, iOS, and also works on Windows and on Mac, and it's a free tool, and it gives you the hierarchy of your UI views, the composition of your view. If you are looking for a tool that helps you to accelerate your coding, then Resharper is the best tool to do that. Resharper helps you to eliminate errors and code smells. It also works better than VS IntelliSense and with XAML files, and is easy to install as a plugin on Visual Studio. You can get a 30 days trial, and it doesn't work for Visual Studio for Mac. It only works on Visual Studio. With Resharper, if you have an error, then you just click Alt Enter and Resharper will do the rest for you. He will try to correct that error. Also, Resharper can apply quick fixes. Again, Alt Enter and Resharper will suggest the best way to correct your code. Resharper also recommends you using the new C# features, like here string interpolation. So it can change your string.format to using string interpolation by just clicking Alt Enter. It also helps you to identify null reference exceptions that might occur on your application, and then it will add the if verification if your objects are null. It could also suggest to you to use link expressions instead of for each loops. MVVM design pattern is a good pattern for writing applications where we have separation between views code and logic code that will make our application easy to maintain and to unit test. Xamarin have some frameworks, MVVM frameworks, that help you to apply MVVM on your application. From those frameworks we have Prism. We also have MvvmCross and MVVM Lite. Here I would recommend using Prism in your Xamarin Forms applications, or you can also use MVVM Lite, and MvvmCross is good for native Xamarin applications. I mean Xamarin.Android and Xamarin.iOS. For dependency injection, we do have containers like Unity, Ninject, and AutoFac, and those help you to apply IOC to your application. Use Vysor to mirror your Android screen on your desktop. This is useful for demos, and it also works on Windows and on Mac, and it's a free tool, so you can use it. So through a USB connection, you can mirror your Android device to your desktop, and you can interact from your desktop. So you can click on buttons on your desktop, and the click will be applied to your application or to your mobile device. Now we are developing the application, and sometimes the application crashes and we don't know why it is doing that. So those might be because of memory leaks. And here we have Xamarin Profiler, which is a useful tool to detect memory leaks in your application. You can launch Xamarin Profiler from your Visual Studio or Visual Studio for Mac, so it works on Windows and also on Mac, and it will monitor the memory usage inside your application. And you can also know which code in your application that is causing this peak of memory, for example. Most mobile applications uses backend web services, and to debug or to test those backend web services, we use client applications like Fiddler, Postman, or curl. The one I'm using here is Postman because it works on Windows and on iOS, and it could be installed as a Chrome extension. Fiddler works only on Windows, but Fiddler have more advanced features like the auto responder. So if you have a web service and you want to invoke it, then the invocation don't go to the web service, but Fiddler will intercept that request and will return a response created by Fiddler. Here we see how Fiddler could intercept all the HTTP requests that are coming from your application or from your desktop. Postman presents the most easy and intuitive user interface to use. Unit tests are a must-have in mobile applications. So we do have frameworks for writing unit tests. Those could be MS Test Framework or XUnit and NUnit. With unit tests, you might think also about UI tests. Here we do have frameworks that will help you to write unit tests or UI tests in your Xamarin application. Those could be Xamarin Test Recorder, which will help you to record your scenario, so you don't have to type the code yourself. So you run the recorder, you interact with your application, and every interaction with your app will be recorded, and after that it will be exported to C# code. You can run those UI tests locally, but if you want to run those on multiple devices with multiple OS versions, multiple screen sizes, then you might want to think about Xamarin Test Cloud, which will give you lots of devices that you can choose from to run your UI tests on those devices. Xamarin Test Cloud supports iOS and also supports Android, and you can write your UI tests either in C#, Ruby, or Java with Appium. So here we see the set of devices you can choose from. So we choose your devices, then you run your tests, and here it gives you the results of the execution of those tests. Now you are ready to launch your application on the store, but you want to track and to know how your users are really using your application. Do they spend much money on the login screen, or are they able to discover all the functionalities inside your application? Then you might think about analytics tools, and here the first one we think about is Xamarin Insights. But unfortunately now Xamarin Insights is moving to VSTS and to HockeyApp. We use HockeyApp to distribute the application to our beta testers, and we also use it to track analytics for how they are using the application. HockeyApp is not recommended to use it in the application that we publish on the store, but we only use it for beta testing. I have created a video that shows you how to use HockeyApp to track analytics and track also all the crashes that might occur on your application on YouTube. And here you can see all the data coming from those analytics. So now instead of using Xamarin Insights, we go to use Visual Studio Mobile Center. Visual Studio Mobile Center help you to build, test, distribute, and track analytics and crashes, and also enable you to send push notifications through Azure. Visual Studio Mobile Center is created to support not only Xamarin applications for Android, iOS or UWP, but it also supports native iOS and Android applications written in Java or Objective-C or Swift. Visual Studio Mobile Center could use CI to create the pipeline that goes from building your application, signing the packages, testing or running the tests, and then distribute your app either to the store or to beta testers. Here we can see the results of running the UI tests on TestCloud. Then here we see how you can distribute your application to your beta testers, the results of the crashes and analytics data. Here you see I can get the number of sessions, the number of users, all the tracking events that I'm tracking. If you take a look at this one, for example, here you can see what are the devices my users are using and the data that I'm tracking here, the date of that event. You can also send push notifications. You can also use other tools than Visual Studio Mobile Center. We do have Bitrise and Jenkins that support Android and iOS applications. For working with DevOps for mobile applications, we can also use Visual Studio Team Services, VSTS, instead of Visual Studio Mobile Center. Because if Visual Studio Mobile Center is optimized for mobile applications, then VSTS could work on mobile apps and also web apps and any sort of projects. With VSTS, you can do work and team management, and also you can host your application code as using Git workflow. Here we see how we can create continuous integration with VSTS. So this is for building my Xamarin application. Now to host your application code, you can either use VSTS that will give you private repositories, but if you want to share your code with everyone, then you might think about using GitHub. You can use it through Git, so this is useful to save your application code in a safer place than your PC. Windows users cannot compile their iOS application from within Windows. They need a Mac machine, and here MacInCloud could help them to provide virtual machines running Mac to debug and run their iOS applications. I hope this video was helpful for you, and thank you.